kind of like a, I think people like Mike because I'm kind of a unique kind of character.
And I have
You just see how games and possessions are more intense, how they mean more.
I'm not putting him on.
I think the U.S. is going to obviously win.
Okay, hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Nothing But Oh, what's this? I'm hearing a report that. Oh my God, hold on. I gotta talk to my agent. I just got some really crazy. No, yep. Okay, so official height is 6'3", and you can put high to medium six figures as the income. Okay, awesome. Okay, wow. Sorry about that. Crazy. Just in the middle of recording this podcast, this thing happened that I needed to address. So sorry to everybody for the breaking news live on pod. But my name is Harry Krinsky. I am joined by Patrick Redford. Patrick, how are you doing?
Good. I'm just watching the highlights from last night, still by which I mean the Israeli hip-hop violinist halftime show over and over again.
So obviously we have to start a little bit on a somber note with the Haliburton injury. I think there's I wonder if everybody experienced this where like the injury was awful and like really shifted the mood, in the game, definitely shifted the mood among people watching. And there was this moment of silence at halftime where like a bunch of people are kind of scrolling their phone, looking at Twitter. And then I just hear one of my friends go, the halftime performer was an Israeli violinist? And
an Israeli hip-hop violinist.
It's just like, what did you just say? So I think that pretty much just sums it up, is solemnly scrolling Twitter and seeing that Oklahoma City hired an Israeli hip-hop violinist to halftime.
That's what it's all about. A sort of uncanny ending to what I thought was like a pretty great finals and playoffs. I had a good time.
I had the same thought about as I was thinking about what this episode was going to be before the game. I was thinking about how the story as I have it is like, what an awesome playoff run. What a just thrilling series across the board. This weird Pacers team, no matter what happens, this behemoth of a Oklahoma team. Yes, we have some swag issues at the margins. Surely, who doesn't? But like, what a fun, exciting, everything you could ask for from a
something we could all feel good about,
Yes, exactly. And then this fucking injury. I did have a thing about the injury. And I think Haliburton himself kind of seemed like he was experiencing this in speed running it, is like just how like nihilistic and brutal sports can be sometimes.
Yes.
That the narrative smashes into the wall of reality sometimes. And it in a way, it's like it being bad is why we all watch, is because it lends, you can't see the sun without whatever rainy days, but it just was gnarly.
I was thinking about this a lot earlier in the playoffs because I wrote this big story about the like concept of meeting physicality, and the sort of the hook for that was I went to Warriors Wolves and I saw just these beaten to shit old Warriors, and then Anthony Edwards with his perfect young knees just like springing all through them, and came to this like very bleak conclusion that basically like basketball is a process where we watch like young, incredible, healthy knees and joints just get turned to dust. And that like process is fascinating and beautiful. And like, that doesn't feel good. That was the day when Tatum tore his Achilles, and that just like drove that lesson home. And then watching like when the Pacers were making that comeback in the fourth, it was all just Ben Mathurin just like putting his body on the line, like flying through the air, landing all crazy style, and just like basically risking injury with every play.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And I don't know. There's something different about, not that football has some moral high ground around this in any case, but there is football is that there's this contact sport element where you are getting hurt on every single play, and so you really pencil in injuries in the foreground of the way you think about this stuff.
It's true.
But the idea, just the idea of that you're doing fine, and then you snap a tendon in your Achilles and you're done. You're just done.
And you're you're like, okay, well, I guess, in spring 2027, hopefully I can make another playoff run. Like that's the thing that feels really, really nasty about the Tatum and Haliburton injuries specifically, is like they happen in the playoffs, which means like we're not going to see him till like October 2026. Like that's so far from now.
I know. It's funny. There's obviously everybody does a certain degree of immediate reacting around, like from anywhere to like the season's too long, to the game is played too intensely, to you really shouldn't be playing on a calf, to the ball don't stop food systems. I don't know if you saw that one, but
that was really good.
A subtle jab
what
at
did
the
he mean
food
by
systems.
that?
I just the microplastics, I think.
Yeah,
he's got
seed oils
microplastics in his Achilles.
I mean, I can't be the only one who notices that, Indiana is one of our highest soybean producing states in the country.
Makes you think, yeah.
The conclusions are inescapable.
But I did have I think every basketball person I talked to had the conclusion of like, okay, so like if you have a string craft, you're never playing.
Yeah, don't do it.
You're just never doing it again. Like that should never happen anymore. And, we'll see. I think information will come out about the medical advice he was given and all that stuff. But if you're Haliburton, like you're playing, you're this is what you do. Of course you're playing. He probably would do it again.
It's game 7 of the finals. Like if and this is the thing that was really sort of like felt so bad about the injury is like he made 3 threes in the first 5 minutes. Like he was determined to go take it. Like I think the Pacers are maybe uniquely set up among all like finals teams that I can really remember in the last 20 years or so to like withstand the loss of their best player. But still, you saw it down in the fourth quarter when it's just like TJ McConnell just committing like the dumbest turnovers on like 17 straight possessions. It's like, okay, with Haliburton, like this doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's probably going a different way. Yeah. All right. Well, do you have any? I unfortunately, there's nothing too profound to say about the injury other than it sucks and whatever. Do you have any other?
I was just thinking, like, there's this knee-jerk temptation to rule the Thunder title a Mickey Mouse title, which I think is like maybe just sort of a problem of proximity to too much basketball discourse, because I had this really like I didn't like having this thought, and this was just an instinct where after the game, Haliburton is like slumped over in his crutches, and there's a TV camera from the tunnel with like several minutes of him just like high-fiving his teammates. And it's like a beautiful moment where like they just experienced this loss collectively. He's experienced this like personal, I don't want to say tragedy, but like this horrible thing has happened to him. And my first like cynical thought was like, oh, he's aura farming in the tunnel. And like, I don't like, that's not what I believe, but I don't even like thinking that. Like, it's not fun to instinctively just like take all like the footage you see in this very postmodern way. I know. Just disclaimer, that's like, it's, I purged the thought. I purified myself, but it didn't.
No, I get it. Of course. It seeps in everywhere.
But also like to the first point I was making, this is not like a Mickey Mouse title. Like the stuff the Pacers do is sort of unlike basically any team that I've maybe ever seen play. And I want to ask you, like, in that fourth quarter, the Thunder go up 22, 7:41 left. They end up not making another bucket for the rest of the game.
Right.
After the Pacers made that first little surge, I was convinced that they were going to win. Like, how did that feel for you?
I wouldn't say I was in the Achilles tear sort of like robbed me momentarily of like, there's not only is there no magic, but we are kind of like, Haliburton's career is over. We are about to enter another war in the Middle East. Like it's all so fucked. So I was not, even a few TJ McConnell jumpers were not doing it for me, but I was completely, I wanted to stop watching, but I was like, it is inappropriate to stop. It's malpractice at this point to stop watching because you look at a 17-point lead with 5 minutes left, and it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's the experience of watching the Pacers this season is like the experience of watching all these irrational things happen, but then at such a frequency that it's like hard to actually call them irrational. And like that, they frustrated me for a long time. And like, I think among people I know, I was maybe the biggest like remaining Pacers skeptic. Cause like every bar I would go to watch, every group of friends I would talk to the finals about, like everyone was all in on the Pacers.
Yeah.
Like, I think people just don't like the Thunder, which I want to get into, but also like, I think they see this like magic happen. They see all these crazy comebacks. They see Haliburton just like making all these crazy game winners and stuff. And like, there's a magnetism to that. Like you want to be part of that, you know?
Yeah. I saw on a micro level, I saw a piece of analysis that I thought was interesting around Caruso, which was basically saying that if you earlier in your career can establish yourself as a good NBA defender, you can get away with unlimited fouls. Essentially, was the point. And maybe there's some truth to that. I do think that also narratives codify 20 to 30 games into the NBA season in a way that I am like totally guilty of.
Yeah.
That every single piece of big picture Pacers media starts with like they had a slow start and then they were the third best team since the 20 game mark. I take that information and immediately throw it out of my brain. I'm like, nope, they are bad. They started slow. That means they're bad.
That is kind of funny, yeah, because they had this like nobody believes in us magic throughout the season, and it's almost like they like took that narrative to heart themselves. It's like they were told they were bad, but like it fundamentally just doesn't matter. Also, if you're in the East, it doesn't matter at all because like you could lose 10 games in a row and still make the playoffs.
Yeah. And it's like the 6th seed, whatever. They were 6th seed. Yeah.
I think they were, yeah. Were they
Pacers?
3, 4? I think they were 4.
Okay. Well, in any case, the lower seeds, nobody but the first top 3 seeds like ever fucking win.
Yeah.
And there's been this long march of like slow, what's the word? Like rules getting putting in coaxing toward parity, and we're seeing it. We are seeing some of the fruits of that labor, and I do think both teams. Yeah, I mean, in short, I totally agree with you that I think this was a extremely well fought run by both teams. I mean, they nobody had an easy series. I guess you kind of call the Bucks with the Dame injury easy. I mean, you're still going up against the third or second best player in the league.
Yeah, it's like in no series did the Pacers have inarguably the best player, and I don't think even at all. Like you'd have to basically say that like the Mobley and Mitchell injuries robbed the Cavs of like having the best player, but it's like to go up 4 series in a row against like Giannis, those guys, the Knicks guys, and like Shea, and still like be leading at halftime in Game 7 of the finals is like it's super, super extremely impressive. And like you sort of saw a lot of teams positioning themselves to make this sort of run around the trade deadline, like the Warriors and Lakers doing like huge win now trades, and like every team in the West thinking they have a shot. Like all these East teams really like gearing up and thinking, 1 through 6, like we can go do it. And I think it's gonna be fun to see that like continue. I think like I don't know, I think I broadly like the parity era, and I find the Thunder to be a sort of fitting champion for not the first season of what could be called the parity era, but like their title feels like the kind of start of a new era in a way that the Celtics one didn't quite, because like the style of play stuff the Celtics are doing is like sort of evolutionary, like post Warriors-y, but like to have the Thunder and the Pacers, like this is a very futuristic ass finals. Like the depth both teams had, the way they played too, like the Pacers are just doing stuff that just doesn't work even in like the regular season. Like you're not supposed to be able to full court press. Like you're not supposed to have the TJ McConnell quarter happen like every single game.
Every single time. Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
No, it's true. I mean, I had never heard of the idea of a superstar kind of meaningfully getting fatigued in the third quarter or something, or like, oh, we got to keep Jalen Brunson fresh for the fourth quarter. That was like not something I had ever heard of. I assume that most NBA players, unless they have like actual conditioning issues, could play 7 quarters in a row if they wanted to.
Yeah, like we saw Jokic, a guy who's like famously had conditioning issues, just win a title 2 years ago by playing like 45 minutes a game.
Right, because you can just do it when it matters. You know, you figure it out. But we're reaching the end of, you know, with the so-called sort of intensity machine. Oh, I should also, speaking of the intensity machine and Henry Abbott, I really was thinking about our episode about injuries and how the Achilles is just this brutal, you know, you just got to be looking at, if you're an NBA team and you're kind of addressing this stuff, you got to start looking at other ways to think about injury prevention, because it's going to win you a title one year.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking about how these particular playoffs seem to be sort of like, in some sense there were a lot of very catastrophic injuries, but some of the least injury marred playoffs we've had. Like, I don't know if you remember, but the Giannis title season and the Warriors title season in particular were like, it's like everyone was getting hurt. Like in that Nets series, like Harden was playing on one leg, and then like just so many injuries over and over and over again. Like Giannis had that play where it looked like he like tore the shit out of his knee and then was somehow fine.
Yes.
I feel like we actually got a pretty healthy playoffs this time, except for those like extremely catastrophic major injuries to superstars, which basically just nullifies my first point. But I sort of wonder why Achilles tears are having such a moment, and can you actually draw any sort of trend about this? Because like there have been, I mean, 3 superstars in one playoffs feels crazy, and plus there have been a couple other ones in the regular season. Like, is this inescapable? Like, I guess Henry's the guy to ask about that.
No, I totally. It's one of those things where you just didn't hear about it at all, and then now everybody is getting them. One other thing I wanted to say around this is, I think that the Pacers getting to a game 7 is a extremely load bearing around how we are going to remember all of this. Like,
that's true.
The difference between losing in 7 and losing in 6 does so much for potential 10 years from now flukiness arguments toward the Pacers. And I know this is silly, right? Like, it's like what we're talking about here. They played like 7 billion minutes, and I'm talking about the 29 of them or whatever. But it really, first of all, it like wobbled. I mean, we were texting before. I thought the Pacers were going to win. I was feeling
same.
like, and not just like, oh, I hope they win. Like, I thought they were going to win. I thought the Pacers were ready and had like nothing to lose, and OKC had everything to lose, and the pressure was going to crush them like it has in other finals. And that didn't work out. But the getting to 7 just is big for them.
I think that's true, and also like winning that game 6 in that way, basically, because like if you watch the Pacers and this sort of like thesis of applied irrationality, basically what they do is they make other teams nervous, and they feel this like insane, borderline irrational confidence. Yeah. And like that kind of stuff doesn't really come through in like the numbers. It doesn't really come through in any way unless you're like actually watching the team play, because it feels so unscientific. Like, we're supposed to talk about the game in this like very serious, like rational, kind of replicable way. But then the actual experience, like the thing that they do that is special is like make people nervous. Right. And then they just feed off that energy. It's like there's sort of like a parasitism that's like kind of hard to square. But then you saw it in basically every game of this series except for game 5, and especially in game 6, like the Thunder, like they played like a young team. They were kind of panicking. Like there was just, their offense was like pretty brutal and stupid for like most of the series, and just Shea was good enough is like kind of the difference, and sort of is why I find myself like so impressed with his finals more than anything. But like, that's why I thought they were going to win game 7. Because like, if you go into halftime, the other team's best player has just suffered the worst injury they can, and the other team is still leading, and like Andrew Nembhard is doing like Michael Jordan shit out there. Like, if I'm Chet Holmgren, I'm freaking out. Right. You know?
Yeah, totally. Let's talk about Shea for a sec, because he really did. He's so good. Like
It's
he's
crazy.
so good. And I want to frame it in a way that to try to reach across the aisle to our like Hooper Pilled brothers, those who might or Hooper Pilled, folks across the aisle. Something I was thinking about is there's this framing that some people have had over the time with superstars, where they're like, so and so Raja Bell is a Kobe stopper, or Kawhi Leonard, like he is a LeBron stopper. He can actually stop LeBron in one-on-one.
Finals MVP Andre Iguodala won that award because of the narrative around him as a LeBron stopper in a series. LeBron averaged like 40.
I was going to say because he held him to 41 points a game, but no, it's true. Like there are these things of like you can acquit yourself. There is no Shea stopper, at least not yet. There is nobody who in one-on-one defense can get him anywhere near uncomfortable. He just gets you to exactly where he wants you, takes the shot that he wants, and it either goes in or it doesn't. But like nobody is shutting off his water in a way that I think is, it kind of reminds me of like Dwayne Wade at times in his career, where it's just like, oh, he can get by anybody he wants, and it's just a matter of if he's going to make or miss the layup. So he's very special.
And like watching him operate is such a pleasure because it's like he's not necessarily just like dribbling past everyone with like pure speed, nor is he like such a good, I mean, he's a good shooter, but like he doesn't have any like obvious physical advantage if you just look at him. But then you actually watch him go and it's like he moves all crazy. He is able to maintain this like perfect balance at like speed and spin and stuff. And like, to me, it's like real old school shit. It's like understanding like how to pivot, what angles to take. And it is sort of a bummer that the Hooper Pilled, maybe they like him. I don't really think so though, but like it is a bummer they don't like him because the stuff he's doing is like, it's really old school.
It just goes to show that the symbolism of throwing your head back and drawing a foul is like should be kind of banned or thought of as kind of like demonic. It should be one of those. It should be like it should be thought of as similar to like doing a middle finger or like for some reason Nazi salute is coming to mind. That's the only other one I can think of. It's probably not like a Nazi salute, but my point being,
probably
it's such a bad look to do the little mini foul bait tick that Jalen Brunson. I mean, but every fucking Dennis Schroeder, every NBA superstar guard, with the unique exception of Steph Curry, does. Their head of PR should be like, I have one basketball note.
Just stop doing
this.
that.
Yeah.
But like it's funny because the thing that made the Thunder so special throughout the regular season was their like collective strength, that like, oh, there's Ousmane Dieng just like mashing some of their team's backup center. And like in the playoffs, it was really just Shea. Like Chet had a bad finals until like the last 3 quarters of yesterday. Like Jalen Williams had one good game. He couldn't do shit against Nesmith. Yeah. And it really was just like Shea putting the team on his back, just like calmly dribbling around and like getting to his spot. And like, I found that really, really impressive. Like he had 1 turnover yesterday and it was like late in the 4th. Like he's like such a young, calm, like I think it's because the way people talk about him and the foul baiting thing is like always number 1. It can be easy to forget, like this is like an all-time season, like scoring champ, MVP, finals MVP, like it's a hell of a run from him. I think it's cool.
Yeah, no, I really agree. And I mean, the people, and I actually like that people are wary of what I'm about to say because I maybe because I am and because whatever, I've planted my flag. Like heliocentric basketball is more boring. Like people are always, I think, over time going to have their guard up around that. Where somebody like Luka or Harden get a little bit of leeway, I think is because maybe they've just like been doing it longer and they don't have like old cranks being like they're playing without swag or whatever. But also there is a certain degree of kind of game-breaking passes that both of them can make, where they'll like bump, draw 2, and especially Luka will just like fling it, 3 passes away to the guy in the corner on a dime. Whereas with Shea in his penetration, he makes the easy pass.
Yeah.
It's lucky for him he gets to because he's got 4 other shooters out there who can, the easy pass is the right pass. But I notice so often that what Shea does, he gets by the first guy, like kind of gets rid of him. And then not all, but like the decision he needs to make is go up or pass to the strong corner or pass to the, strong
it's
side,
all simple.
It's simple. Exactly. Which can, it is fun to see people do crazy stuff.
But like Ant Edwards doesn't do that. Like if he could just just find it within himself to be like, oh, there's Mike Conley, like here's the ball, then like everything would change. Like I saw yesterday she had 12 assists. He had 0 in a game 4, I think. And the game they won game 4. That was his playoff career high. Which is sort of surprising to me given like you said, like how many shooters they play with, but I guess, and like how often the ball is in his hands. Like you would think there would just be more dump offs, but like I think the best passer on that team is Isaiah Hartenstein.
In terms of like kind of playmaking style passes, he really does get it out to the right people. I saw smarter. This gets into slightly smarter basketball schematics than I can always wrap my head around, but like the Pacers were doing a bunch of just like junking it up switches, and I think you maybe could oversimplify the game into like the games where Shea was able to kind of like solve the junk it up switches were the games they won, and the games that they couldn't were the games that they lost.
I actually do think that's basically true because the operative dynamic of the Pacers defense was like basically how far up they picked up. Like I think 1 through 5, Nembhard was on him 94 feet. And then game 2, the Thunder's big thing was just having Chet set the screen at half court to give him a runway. Game 4 was like, he was just dribbling through the double team, kind of like just splitting screens. And then it was funny to see them relax off that pressure,
I bet to what we were saying earlier, when you're Andrew Nembhard and you need to suddenly be Andrew Nembhard and Tyrese Haliburton on offense, you can't pick up 94 feet. You're hitting the end of what you can do. And like, I don't think it really matters, but people were bashing the sitting Siakam for so long. Which
yesterday?
I thought yesterday, yeah.
He was ass yesterday. He looked tired.
I know, yeah, he wasn't. And I think how I saw Carlisle's perspective as as somebody who's never coached a game in my life outside of youth basketball, like is that his only shot was getting 12 pure uncut fly everywhere moment or minutes out of Siakam, and so like that's what he was banking on, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, I want to sort of get to the point of why people are so annoyed with the Thunder, and I think with every title team, you want to feel like they have like overcome like circumstances, that they have lost and fought through the mud and come back and like earned it. And there's always a couple players on each team that kind of like personify this like career long struggle. Like when the Celtics won, as much as they are like an extremist institution that I think should be punished, it was cool to see like Al Horford get a title, When the Warriors won, it was like, oh man, like JaVale McGee has a championship ring. Like how cool is that? There's like not a single player on the Thunder to whom that applies. Like there's no one's narrative has like a struggle period and then success. It's all just success.
Yeah.
And I think because everyone's so young too, that can repulse a lot of people because it like defies these narratives about how you have to just like how Michael Jordan had to lose to the Pistons a couple times before he got his title, and like Kobe had to struggle. Like the fact that there is no like the hero's journey, there's no like inciting incident. They just like got together, were awesome, and kicked everyone's ass. And that's like hard for people to square.
Well, I got one for you. The real narrative is the triumph of Sam Presti neoliberalism over the shackles of regulation.
Yeah.
The Harden trade was his sort of like Joker origin story where big government came in and forced him to break up his team, and then he kind of like got in the lab and committed to like a pure public-private partnership where he was like grabbing like tranches of second round picks and like shipping them to China.
How else can you read getting Aaron Wiggins in the second round as sort of the application of the abundance agenda to basketball style principles? You know, everyone talks about Nikola Topic coming in. That's basically them building new housing. Like they've found a way around zoning regulations.
Nobody thinks about like gray rim protection. Shea is gray rim protection. You think it's supposed to be this big strong guy, but it's actually a quirked up Minnesotan hitting it with his pinky.
I was gonna say having a guy as tall as Chet being able to protect the rim and I guess theoretically hit threes is basically them like relaxing zoning regulations on height buildings in the area, you know. And they have like Lou Dort is basically them funding the police. It's like we're gonna monopolize and weaponize violence against you, but it's gonna be legal. Like that's like the Dort Caruso backcourt right there.
Exactly. That's so funny. Yeah. Well, there's a narrative. Thank you to Sam Presti. Let me see. Any other big ones before I get totally conspiratorial about you?
I do want to sort of briefly like think about who are we most happy for that won the title? Like individually, which player are we like, it's cool they won, like they have a ring now. Who are we most annoyed with? And on the flip side, like who are we most sort of heartbroken for that they don't have a ring? I think for me, it's like, it's just Shea. It's like, it's cool to see this particular season paid off so well. And it's not like no one can say shit to him because there'll still be haters, but like, as hard as it can be to appreciate like a great season like this, like it's just so cool that he paid it off with the title. That's who I like.
I have always had a soft spot for like, I always gravitate for whatever reason to the number 2 stars on teams. And so mine is definitely J-Dub. And like, even, you know, he's not, it's funny because he's almost like he's like an underdog narrative that like the ground is following and being rewritten in real time underneath him, where like 10 years ago, his story is a complete enigma. Goes to Santa Clara, grows a bunch, and then, you know, gets drafted 12th or whatever, and then ends up being the second best player on a championship team. Like those are the types of things you make sports movies about. Yeah. But now, because everything, I just think maybe like people are coming from different places and superstars are coming from Europe and whatever. It's like maybe less of this unique underdog story, or maybe he just like doesn't lean into it being an underdog story, but he's awesome. Or his story's awesome. His idiosyncrasies are a little, I mean, you know what?
No, he's cool. His game 5 performance, I think, was my favorite single performance by anyone of these finals. Like he had 40, but it was all just like totally in context. It was simple stuff. It was like getting the pass with like a slight advantage and just pounding that shit, 2 hard dribbles like that. Like he has those like scoop finishes with both hands that are so cool. And he tried one yesterday on Pascal where he like didn't have an advantage and he got his shit swatted. But like that to me sort of underscores how cool he can be when he's like committed to actually getting to the rim. Yeah. Cause like when he's bad, it's just a lot of settling for that like kind of one, he like turns into Paul George briefly.
Right.
But like when he's on, it's like, oh, this guy's an all NBA defender. He's like a pretty good rebounder for his size. And like, he's like maybe a better passer than Shea too. It's like, they're a fun 1-2. So I'm happy for him.
Yeah. And I just love like, anytime, you know, I don't know, maybe I love a small school glow up. Like, it's just cool. Like that's, you know, when he was 20, he was probably going to be like, oh, maybe I'll get into project management or something, or like play. I mean, maybe not that severely, but like it's, you know, most people who go to Santa Clara, right? That's where he went.
Yeah. Santa Clara.
Do not play in the NBA.
Yeah.
Even the good guys. So
it's funny too, because his success, I think, led to like more eyeballs on Pajemski.
Yes.
The next year, another Santa Clara guy, and on his brother, who like was like a 5-star top 10 recruit and like maybe the worst player in the NBA last season. No disrespect to Cody.
No, none at all. Who am I happy for? Or who else? Or who am I sad for. I'm very curious to see Nemhard next year. I think there's going to be some give Nemhard his own team chatter, which I would love. Like, he's just filthy, dude. He's
fearless.
Yeah, I wanted a little more. I mean, a lot of TJ McConnell last night.
He was like the cause of and solution to all of their problems. Like in that third quarter, he had that, I don't know, 5 or 6 just crazy buckets, but then matched by 5 or 6 crazy turnovers that instantly led to a huge Thunder run. It was like the most thrilling, like either negative or neutral moment I've seen this season.
No, it was amazing. Yeah. And it was like in real time, the discourse was shifting to like, man, TJ really would get a bag if he, was a free agent this year, to like, I'm not sure he's an NBA player. Like,
I like Neesmith a lot. I love a reclamation project. I like that he is both this like kind of turned into a dead-eye shooter and kind of doesn't really know what to do with his limbs and yet can be like a great defender. Like, he had that one foul where like the Pacers are making a run. He double teams Shea and just inexplicably just jumps in the air towards him and like kind of kills the run on his own.
Yeah.
And like fouls out and kicks the chair. And I always I'm drawn to players with these like obvious strengths and flaws. Like, I guess I have just sung Shea's praises and he's this guy, but like one of my favorite players of all time is Russ, who is just like, like he can do things no one else can do and also does things no one else should do.
Yes.
Like often in the same play. And Neesmith is not quite that, but he had like a crazy block at the rim, hit a couple threes. Like, he's a cool player, and I hope he has like a nice long career here.
I am, of course, happy for future Warrior Benedict Mathurin for his incredible run. I fucking love that guy.
He's like if Jonathan Kuminga went to therapy.
But like a bad therapist. He's like if Jonathan Kuminga did like MDMA therapy. Because he's like he makes the wrong play all the time.
He's like an evil basketball player. I kind of love him.
He is an evil basketball player.
Like Kuminga, he's like, he should be better at stuff, but he's kind of bad at everything except for like drawing fouls. Like, both of those guys just get to the line like 10 times a game. Both of their games are like really ugly. Like, I don't really like watching Mathurin play except for like when he's just like totally reckless and just getting into the lane, knocking guys over. Like,
well, it was funny too. Yeah, completely. He's a deeply flawed player. I'm not sure. I basically have him on my team in Jonathan Kuminga. You will see these moments. I mean, you get why he went number 2. You'll see these moments where like he just blew by Lou Dort one play. Like, just a little bit, like one pass away, Lou Dort helped over, and he just dribbled right by him. What
just quick fact check. I think he was like the 5th or 6th.
Oh, he was 5th pick. What did I say? 2?
Yeah.
Like 2 in my heart. The what Mathurin has going for him, which Jonathan Kuminga does not. This is another kind of like the aesthetics of basketball is Mathurin's shot looks cool and Jonathan Kuminga's shot does not look cool. And so it doesn't matter to me that Mathurin shoots probably sub 35% from 3. I'd have to look it up, but whenever he shoots, I'm like, this is fucking a bucket.
Obi Toppin is a guy who I feel like I should like, whose game nonetheless like really annoys me. Like, he's so athletic. He can kind of hit threes all of a sudden now, but I watch him and I'm like, this guy's not good. Like, I don't know what it is about him. It's movement style or something, but like, I will always be an Obi skeptic, and I don't like that.
Well, he's one of those guys who clearly can't win over the assistant coaches. Like, he can't, or like whatever. Like, the film is telling a truth about him on some level that he's like missing rotations or something. He is one of those guys who every single kind of defensive breakdown style play that involves like 3 Pacers like looking at the sideline, kind of being like shrugging. Obi Toppin is in all of those.
Yeah.
Like,
he's had a couple, like it was game 4, the Shea game, where like the thing the Thunder had to come back from was like a 12-0 Obi run.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, he's one of those players who's really good in transition and kind of in those like interstitial moments, but then you think about him in like a half court offense, you're like, I don't know what this guy does. Like,
Yeah.
what's he here for?
On the other hand, it's like you throw him in the Nuggets and he's like Michael Porter Jr. with a center left podcast.
I was just sort of thinking about that. Like, what would a Nuggets Pacers final? I kind of can't imagine those two teams playing each other just because they're so different. Like, I think Nemhard, we'd have another Canadian on Canadian Nemhard Murray thing. But the idea of like the Pacers blender going up against someone like Jokic is like, I kind of can't, it breaks my brain.
Yeah, totally. I feel like Jokic would be a good, I mean, it's, again, you're right. It's a huge clash of styles. It's like nobody can speed Jokic up, but we thought nobody could speed Shea up, and then it happened.
Yeah. Did anything else happen this weekend?
Well, absolutely something happened. I tried to make a joke about it in the beginning. I mean, I fell down. Well, okay. Let me go first. Let me just tell you what happened, because there's many things to unpack about this. Kevin Durant was traded to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and the number 10 pick in this year's draft. And then a tranche of
the Jay Crowder deal.
A tranche of second round picks. We will talk about the basketball deal of it, but I want to first talk about two levels of meta discourse. The first is there is an Icarus arc coming, and I fear that the wings have melted, in that 3 or 4 years ago it was like, wow, the NBA is kind of an 11-month sport. Like, that's awesome. It's now feeling like the NBA is a 13-month-a-year sport, where teams, where like the information is like collapsing in on of itself, and like I just can't think of a better metaphor for this idea of the para content jumping over the content as a NBA superstar being traded on the eve of Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Like, it's such a fine pointed metaphor that like I honestly can't believe it happened. But what I really want to talk about is the way it allegedly all went down.
Allegedly, yeah.
Which is well, first, what do you any thoughts about the kind of meta discourse?
I think that's an interesting point, and you could sort of see this gathering steam over like the last sort of decade and a half, and like the League Pass and the Twitter era, like this league.
Yes, the league is drunk
sort of thing, and like this kind of attendant worry that people care more about the player transactions and the movements than like the basketball itself. And I think some of that can be fairly overblown. Like, I think
agreed.
Any interest is good interest. And I think something like the Durant trade happening in the finals is like probably like an ultimate sort of good for the NBA, because then it's like people are talking about the game more. Like, basically it's sort of, if you are going to be in this attention economy kind of dynamic, then like that is good, and there's no such thing as bad press. I also do think it's a little crazy. And like the way that like the game broadcasts itself, the way the NBA like talks about the basketball on its like through its official channels, through its mouthpieces, has never felt like sort of more different than the way that like fans talk about it. And like I think basically that's what you're identifying. Like, that dissonance like taken to its logical extreme is like bad.
It's like, yeah, like two NBA fandoms like happening in silos. One that is purely cares about what's going on the court, and one that it doesn't care at all. Yeah, I agree. I don't think we're there. The metaphor is very funny, but I guess ultimately it doesn't matter. I did legitimately not know you could do this, and it's got me like, can you trade if a Pacer was in that deal? What happens? Well,
that's sort of the funny thing about this trade is like it won't be official until after the draft, until like the new league calendar starts, because like something with Jalen Green's salary, yada yada yada. And I think I am broadly sympathetic to the idea that like it is annoying that to be a really informed NBA fan, you have to have this like sort of like advanced microeconomic understanding of like, okay, here's how the apron works, like 30% max, yada yada. Like that's like, I think it's actually not that difficult to understand, but I am sympathetic to the idea that it is annoying to like have to know that stuff.
Yeah. The other the thing you were saying about like it's an 11-month a year sport, or sorry, like whatever. The conversations about like basketball dominating year round or basketball when it does. I do wonder if one of the kind of myths that the NBA sold about itself was in this Twitter era of like it being the idea that basketball is an 11-month year sport because people care about basketball all 11 months is false. And what might actually be true is whatever is charged enough to reach Twitter is what people will talk about. And so like the trades, just the fact that it can be the main character of the discourse for a second and create this kind of like spin out effect of memes and arguments and etc. Like all you really need to do is get to there, and then you kind of break containment and get launch velocity. And that has less to do about the like actual literal calendar than I thought. It's maybe just more like the NBA has a lot of opportunities to win days.
Yes. And like people were pointing out, they're like, oh, this would like in Roger Goodell's NFL, you'd never have like one of the best players of all time traded on Game 7 of the NBA Finals. And I think the more important point there is like you would never have one of the best players traded of all time, like period. Like that kind of shit just doesn't happen. Like the transactions are crazier in the NBA. And sort of what I do like about it as someone who has been in this world forever is like the nature of the crazy transactions changes with like the nature of the apron stuff and like the cap, the CBA. And so it's like, not only do like surprising, big transactions happen, but like different kinds of surprising big transactions happen. Like this year we had, I guess we'll sort of talk at some point about like things that happened this year, but like the 2 coaches getting fired in April was like crazy. Yeah. Like you'd never see that in the non-parity era, basically.
No, it's so true. The machine, the like crazy stuff does just happen all the time, but the way that crazy stuff has happened is changing a lot.
But anyway, the Durant, how did he find out?
Okay. So he found out,
quote unquote,
allegedly, a video starts getting circulated of him reading of him on stage at something called Fanatics Fest, which we will get to.
Red flag.
Yeah, exactly. Not my business. I'll tell you what. Fanatics Fest was in New York City this weekend. I was not there. I did not tap into Fanatics Fest. He is on stage at Fanatics Fest doing a interview with Taylor Rooks when either Taylor Rooks announces, I actually wasn't being able to configure this out because the video is kind of ambiguous, which is part of this conspiracy, of either Taylor Rooks being like, there's a trade announcement, or a person in the audience kind of being like, KD, you're a Houston Rocket. Did you know this? And the moment is sold to us as Kevin Durant finds out live on stage that he was traded to the Houston Rockets. My initial thought was like, I don't think so. I don't think that's how it happened.
Yeah.
The more I look at it, the more I'm like, I'm actually kind of. It started getting me thinking about like kayfabe, the wrestling thing, because I'm like, I'm now in the zone where I'm like, not only did it not happen, but I actually think like everybody knows it didn't happen like this, but we're just sort of like agreeing to kind of outline, like agreeing to live in the world where it did happen, basically. Like kind of
it's like the spectacle. The spectacle is so fun that you look past the surreality of it, right?
Exactly. And let me just pull up this.
Well, it's also the thing that's sort of funny about that too is like the incident that marks KD getting traded is not like a phone call between the Houston GM and the Phoenix GM, nor is it a phone call between Durant and his agent. It is Shams tweeting it. Like that is the moment when it's the legit. Abstract becomes real.
Okay, so let me outline just like the case for it being fake for those potential non-believers out there. Number one, neither Kevin Durant nor Taylor Rooks batted an eye at the idea of just either reading on Twitter or hearing a fan yell out the fact that he got traded in, by the way, a media milieu where you cannot go 3 minutes on Twitter without seeing a fake trade or somebody like purposefully trying to mislead you. So the idea that they would just like not fact check it, but just rip it like, oh, what? Oh my God. Oh, what? Okay. Guess it's true. The next, Taylor Rooks has two final questions. One of them is, what's wow, kind of convenient that the trade happens in the last fucking 90 seconds of the interview. Like, what an amazing coincidence. Taylor Rooks goes like, asks the craziest last question ever, which you would never ask unless you were basically told to, which is like, if you could have one song play every time you were in the locker room, like what would it be? And Kevin Durant, famous improviser and on the spot thinker, just goes 6 p.m. in Houston by Drake. I think that's what the song called. It's something PM in Houston by Drake. And it's like, oh yeah, what's it called? 6 p.m. in Houston by Drake.
Wow. I mean, she may as well have had one of those little TikToker tiny mics and asking him that question. What's an album that makes you say vibes, KD? I've always loved the work of DJ Screw and Paul Wall.
Yeah, exactly. And then just drilling down a little bit more. Fanatics Fest. There's a Hollywood Reporter article about this. Fanatics Fest is literally the brainchild of Fanatics, the kind of bizarre ballsack baseball company, ballsack showing baseball shorts company, and Kevin Durant's company, The Boardroom, which is owned by Kevin Durant and Rich Kleiman, Kevin Durant's agent. The guy
also, the story about the KD trade demand, there was some weird Shams stuff that, like, if you are an experienced Shams watcher like myself, your ears perked up when the first big Shams scoop of the KD trade cycle was that Rich Kleiman and KD were like vetting people. And the scoop he got was not that Durant was available to trade. It's that like Durant's business partner and Durant were like the ones conducting the trade demand.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, it's very clear who leaked this. It's very clear that he's going to get the scoop when it comes down because he's like doing Rich Kleiman the favor of being like, look at this mover and shaker mogul. So like the way that the whole narrative was shaped and the way that information was passed down was like, I'm not like being a conspiracy guy here and being like, it's all fixed from the jump or whatever, but like, just sort of think about like how sort of cooked the transactionality of it was.
Right. And I was talking to somebody and I think they rightfully not push back, but they rightfully were like, well, yeah, I mean, yes, players know about it before. Like, what's so special about this moment? And what I think is special about this moment, and what I think is sort of like, if there is something not quite conspiratorial, but if there's something like interesting about the way power moves and money moves that is important here, is to talk for a second about Fanatics, the company, which is they are in the business of extracting money out of the parasocial relationship you have with athletes. And like that is their express business goal. They partner with a lot of streamers who are at the forefront of this kind of like strange parasocial thing. They sell the trading cards, they sell, uniforms. Their kind of idea, I think, is like, okay, we can't be Nike, we can't be Adidas, we can't be FanDuel, whatever. But so we can't kind of like own the licensed gear, but what we can do is like be at the bleeding edge of like ways in which you can kind of own part of a parasocial relationship with an athlete.
Yes. And the other like really critical thing to know about the products made by Fanatics is that they like down the line, A to Z, suck shit.
Yeah. I mean, where I thought you were going, which is part and parcel of this, is like there's flirtation with blockchain and NFTs and collector culture and like all this stuff that I am of two minds about, which is that I collect stuff. I like being a nerd about collecting stuff. I like owning, physical things, all that stuff. I think that the profiting I think the business of parasocial relationships is really icky and weird, and I wish people weren't into it. Basically, you know, I so maybe that's contradictory, but that's my reality. But and Fanatics Fest, the entire project of Fanatics Fest, I don't know if you know this about what's going on with Fanatics Fest, is that there is a competition going on where you can play against your favorite athletes. Like you can there's a new way you can't just be fans with them. You can actually compete against them in this like weird trial of things. And if you win, if you come in first place, which of course nobody did because a famous athlete came in first place, you get $1 million. If you come in second, you get a Porsche or a Ferrari. And if you come in third, you get a signed 2003 LeBron James rookie card.
Wow.
But the idea is, again, just like getting closer and closer to like, what if we can get you even closer to your favorite athletes, and like what premium would you charge on like basically intimacy of connection?
Yeah. This is they've like personified that like sort of that meme question where it's like, would you rather have like $1 million or like dinner with Jay-Z? You know, they basically like reverse engineered a festival from that premise.
Yes, exactly. So given that context, that they are attempting explicitly to be on the bleeding edge of the relationship to fans and their favorite athletes, and by the way, taking a nice little cut and extracting value, it becomes a little bit more sinister to me to stage a interactive news thing. Like that they were almost, you can almost look at this, not to get too wooey, as this like performance theater piece where you get to be a part of the trade. Like,
yes.
And how much money would you be willing to have the experience of being part of the Kevin Durant trade? And like that is just, I guess I'm just like that. I have just sort of an aesthetic issue with that. Like, I just think that's gross. I also don't like what that says about kind of like larger unchecked capitalism's ability to like exploit sacred stuff. Like, it just is like weird to me.
Yeah. It's like the idea of sort of warping reality in this way to like then sell it back to you feels bad. And I think that like that general truth can be read into like a lot of things in culture and media, and it doesn't like that's bad. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah, totally. And there's like there was a op-ed in the New York Times, I think, this week about the kind of mining of sports fandom and this paywall stuff. And I know Ethan Strauss has termed the fracking the pie, which is like kind of a kind of intellectual cousin to that kind of thing. I'm sure he's got a wonderful set of social politics around that term, but this feels like a connected thing to that, which is like when you reach the end of how far you can possibly expand outward in terms of new user bases or whatever, like you go down and like
make the experience more immersive, right?
And there was this interview, by the way, put on by Boardroom with Rich Kleinman interviewing what's his name, the main guy behind Fanatics. What the fuck's his name?
Oh, Michael Rubin.
Yeah. And he was like, countries all over the world want this experience. And just like, he was excited about that. And I'm just like, fuck, man. Like, Kevin Durant has done kind of partnerships of various kinds with Qatar Sports Investments. So you can see where this is going, right?
Yeah.
Like and it's just like, this is what you do when you need to continually expand to make increasing amounts of money from a product.
And a lot of smart people have sort of written about like, and I know I say this too, I use this construction too much, but about like the Dubaiification of a lot of like culture and media and politics. And it feels bad to have that that sort of like aesthetic and dynamic overlaid on top of something I love very much, which is NBA trades. So
Exactly.
you have an interesting run here in our run sheet about like the history of Kevin Durant transactions vis-a-vis, like you can basically tell this interesting story of like the evolution of basketball media through the Durant trades. Can you walk our listeners through that?
Yes, because that is what kind of originally, this was my original plan before I got completely Fanatics pilled and got distracted by the potential crisis actors in downtown New York this week. But it is interesting. You basically nailed the setup. In 2016, Kevin Durant is announces that he is signing with Oklahoma City with the Players Tribune, which was that is the peak of its power. It was a meme, he's like standing.
Yeah, the black and white image.
Yes, the black and white image. But that was a real moment. Like that was before kind of these player podcasts happened. Players Tribune was positioning itself smartly, I think, on some level as like a place for like the player empowerment movement to have a media arm. They didn't realize that they would not be included in the media arm.
Yeah, they're like an intermediary between like the players just announcing shit on Instagram now versus it's like you need that thing to have like this veneer of legacy media, and then everyone kind of realizes you actually don't. You can just like get on the mic after game 1 of the 2022 NBA Finals and say, Celtics got lucky, fuck them, we're winning the title, and be right.
Yep. It's like the Anakai meme where it's like, you're going to go through us, right? You're going to go to the fans, but you're going to go through us, right? You're going to go to the fans, but you're going to go through us, right? And then it's like, no. Then 2013, I think you're right. This new, well, it's actually, you're right about this like slowly weaning yourself off media, any kind of like modicum of legacy media prestige, because even this 2019 one was a boardroom Instagram post that and so like the need to kind of bounce it through this media company, which is funded by Kevin Durant, is interesting. And
the kind of like optimization businessy sense of like we're going to monetize this transaction.
Yeah, exactly. And sort of be like, okay, well, if Woj is making all this money from getting our scoops, why don't we make some money from getting our scoops? And there's an interesting kind of like bagel hole in the middle of all of that where there is actually nothing in there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you get the scoop early.
Yeah.
Or like it only matters because it matters kind of thing. The trade to the Sun sort of bucks this trend a little bit, or like is outside of the story, I feel, because it was a trade and because it was such a kind of unique situation. There was the weird, like, I guess maybe it's inside of it in that he kind of was hitting his head on the end of how much you can player empower yourself out of a bad situation. There was like an Athletic piece that was clearly full of leaks from Durant's camp, basically being like, it's either Josai needs to choose Steve Nash or me, and then Josai came out on Twitter. I got a question for you. How many Twitter followers do you think Josai has?
Why would you follow like 20,000?
Okay, I was expecting like 200,000. He's got 67,000 followers on Twitter.
Yeah, because like, what does he have to say? Is he just like posting his Letterboxd reviews? Like, why are you following Jose? I guess is my question.
I mean, look, I'm with you. I just figured like whatever he makes $17 billion or has $17 billion or whatever. I would have. No, I mean, look, good.
Well, this is like you go on Instagram and you get an ad from the Instagram for Instagram and you're like, why do 67 people I know follow? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people still sort of use Twitter in this like very 2008-y way where it's like, oh, there's celebrities on here. I gotta see what they're posting. Yeah.
It's true. Okay, fair enough. And then this the kind of like final conclusion, which is like, I'm going to stage a release at Fanatics Fest is the kind of like tragedy. Final. Because what it is if you are gonna like play this metaphor out, what it is it's like the veneer of getting to know the players is completely shattered, and all that exists is it as this like extraction moment activation for a company that makes pants where you can see the ball sack.
Yeah, it's like the apotheosis of this trend is basically like creating your own reality and like understanding that like that's the new meta. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's great. You're being sold. Imagine just being sold like a Malik Monk to the Raptors trade as like a reality busting event. Like it's great.
My brother said something funny yesterday, which I think sort of speaks to this. Unfortunately, where we're going on this is he was like, once we start getting generative AI in commercials and stuff, like they should put just me in the commercial. Like if I'm watching, I should be in the commercial. And I was like, I laughed because that's a funny idea, but I'm also just like, that's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's basically right, because so the point of all these ads is like this could be your life. It's like you could also buy Progressive insurance and be friends with these people, and it's like, yeah, the future is like every TV has a camera on it, and it's like you're in the State Farm ad with Caitlin, like getting blown by, like wow, you get to be a part of it. It's great.
All right, do you have any thoughts about the kind of like actual trade itself?
I think this is good for the Rockets. I mean, it's funny. There's this kind of funny thing where like in every podcast I've listened to about this trade, the person will answer that question by being like, I'm not the biggest Jalen Green believer. And it's like, dude, no one's a big Jalen Green believer. Like we all just saw him
scored
shit
9
himself.
points in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and they're at the playoffs, and like everyone kind of understands that like who Jalen Green is, that he's so young, that he has this whole sense of possibility. All of that said, I'm not the biggest Jalen Green believer. And I think getting him off the team is like just a straight up positive. Like, not to be an analytics boy, but like it is shocking if you look at all the on off stuff. Like every lineup without him was like plus 20, and like just Şengün, Thompson, and Van Vliet without him were like mashing. And every unit with Green is like a negative or a neutral. So I think just getting him out alone is like a huge positive. I think the price is fine. The latter period Durant stuff kind of bums me out a little bit, because like he's still good, but is kind of diminished, and it's not super clear if like his inability to play the right role was like a Suns thing or a KD thing, because I think this was a low stat that he had the most drives of his career last year and like the fewest shots at the rim, which is like he still is like having a good season, but he's like in some degree of physical decline. And if you're a 7-footer who can shoot threes, doesn't matter as much, all that. But like I hope it works out. I've always been a Durant fan. As for the Suns, not my problem.
Yeah. I agree. I'm excited for the Rockets. They pass a great little check I like to do when a trade happens, which is like a trade like this, which is like, would it be a fun 2K team? And the answer is yes. That would be a fun 2K team. Now the Rockets would be fun. The Jalen Green thing is interesting because it seems like the experiment of him as an off guard, it has failed. I think like attempt 1 as him being an off guard, it just doesn't seem like he's too small. He can't be he needs to guard point guards. He needs to kind of like be guarded by point guards. And so being a point guard is really hard in the NBA, and it always happens late. So I do think if there is a path to salvation, it's him being like getting to a kind of like late career Mike Conley level of team running ability, but then is able to basically play shooting guard with himself as the point guard, because you just can't. It's barbecue chicken if you have like him and another point guard in there.
And he's so good at so much of like the hardest stuff in the league. Like he can like at a dead sprint shoot really well. He's like super, super athletic, but then, and I think you can read this in either way. Like his main weakness is basically brain thinking. And like, you could look at that and be like, oh, this guy's cooked. He's never going to figure it out. Yeah. Or you could look at that and be like, all he has to do is just like lock in and like you have an all-star.
Put it together, learn how. Yeah, you're totally right.
And I guess that's like a difficult process, but
I joked to this on Twitter. I thought I had a banger on my hands. I think I got 7 likes, but the Jalen Green looking at the 2 roads dividing, the stormy one is Bradley Beal and the sunny one is Devin Booker. Like those are his options.
that's a good read on it. And like, cause Booker was like bad for several years. Like I remember he had that 70 whatever point game against the Celtics, and all anyone could say is just like, the league is cooked. Like this guy sucks. Like this is not real.
That was the first Zoomer moral panic. Like
yeah, it really was. That's
it,
true. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Ultimately, I don't know. I'm just really excited for the Kings to trade for Jalen Green and give him the rock and
future King Jalen Green. Yeah. What about Jalen Green, Ben Mathurin, Kings backcourt?
Let's go. Unethical hoops.
Yeah,
before we get out of here, I do want to hear about the constantly hating. Quick scene report from your New York weekend.
It was very fun. So our lawyer and friend Ox Portello was popped out to New York and did a reading at Fanatics Con Annex, where you could buy a piece of you were actually able to buy like sentences from the swag blog. So I bought the lead, which was awesome. It was 650 milligrams of Ethereum.
Bargain at twice the price.
Yeah, totally. No, he did do a reading at this reading called Constantly Hating, put on by a fellow named Eli, who was an awesome reading. It was very fun. Go to the next one, everybody. The point, and Ox piece was great as well as the other readings, but the funniest, the scene report that I really need to give is it was first of all, come on, Bushwick folks, you guys got to step up. The event said doors open at 7, reading starts at 8. I get there at 7:25 because I was meeting somebody, but also like I got a lucky bus, so like my bus arrived really early. It was also thunderstorming outside, so whatever. I was just like, okay, I'll show up a little earlier. I'll Glansburg, but it'll be fine. I show up. The entire venue is empty. Not a single person is there. Such that the bartender looks at me and goes, is this your event? I'm like, no, this is your event. I'm here for you. And so I'm like, yeah, they're not here yet, I guess, whatever. So then I sit down and whatever, I'm just chatting kind of, I guess they're running a little late. And what did end up happening is they were just running a little late, and then the setup, and then a bunch of people came and it was fine. But I didn't get the memo. What did happen was 4 women walk in, and I'm like, oh, okay. These 4 women are surely part of the Constantly Hating Ox Portello reading. And they're like, hey, the bartender's like, hey, are you guys here for the event? And they're like, what event? And they're like, the event that you just walked in. And then they were like, no, like, we're just here for karaoke. Like, can we do karaoke? And the bartender, to her credit, was just like, well, the event people aren't here yet, but you can probably do like 3 songs until they show up. And so me alone, and these 4 women are just there kind of negotiating a quick karaoke. They then go into the other room, which is like open so I can see them. And they're like, okay, we're going to do karaoke. So they're doing karaoke to nobody. The one of the women gets up and is like, okay, I would like to sing Norman fucking Rockwell by Lana Del Rey.
To no one. To you, basically.
To me, basically.
That's beautiful.
And puts on, they cues on Norman fucking Rockwell. About 15 seconds into the song, the teleprompter freezes, but the song continues. So now this woman is just off book ripping Norman fucking Rockwell to nobody in this like fucked up Bushwick bar that I'm supposed to be at this reading at. I'm alone. Like, I don't know what's going on. And, does the entire thing. The only other song done is Hotline Bling. So then the next woman gets up and rips a rendition of Hotline Bling, and then they leave and are never seen of again. And then the reading starts, and it's great.
That's great.
It was
what an encounter.
a Lynchian kind of like Bushwickian. If Mulholland Drive is about L.A., this was like Bedford Ave by David Lynch.
That's a great table setting. Thank you for that scene report. And thank you to everyone for joining us this week. We'll be back. Season's over, but we're not. So
yeah,
we'll see you soon.
We got big things coming.
Big things coming. That's true.
All right.
All right.